situation may not be perfect, but listen, that's okay. The sooner you start the conversation is the sooner you two can solve problems like credit issues and student loan debt. So don't let the fear of achieving new heights hold you back from getting the home of your dreams. Perfect for your growing family and for hosting those PV watch parties. So get started now on taking the first steps towards your new home and taking the next big step in your life. Don't delay. Talk with Jeff today so you can be in your home tomorrow. All right. And so when Jeff gets you right, all right, so listen, Jeff gonna get you right. He gonna make sure the money's in place. All right. He gonna make sure the money's in place. That's his job, right? That's his prerogative. Now, after we make sure that the money's in place, then the next thing we got to do, right? We got to find that home of your dreams. And listen, that's where your boy comes in. All right. I help you find a property of your dreams, a property that works just for you. And for me, man, listen, it's all about many mansions. So I believe that just as God has a place for you in heaven, is as surely he has a special spot for you while on this earth. And so I'm just partnering with him to prepare a place for you. And after, right, we find that place for you, you know what we got to do next, man. We got to make sure that that property is ready for you to move in, ready for you, right, to be able to live in and not have no issues, right? And so the only way we're going to do that is we got to contact my boy Neil over at Big. And so when you're thinking big about your home purchase and you want a thorough assessment of your biggest investment, you owe it to yourself to contact Big. That's Blueprint Improvement Group. Big provides home inspections in the greater Houston area and is owned and operated by proud People Mechanical Engineer alum Neil Harris. He has experienced inspectors who use advanced tools and techniques to assess every aspect of the property from the roof to the foundation. So visit thinkbig.com or text 713-259-0673 to book your home inspection. Support the team that supports the team. All right. Support the team that supports the team. And so we're talking about supporting the team that supports the team. All right. We're talking about the Prairie Panthers, by the way. Okay. That's what we're talking about. But before we get everybody up on the stage, man, I got to let you know also about the barbecue cook-off that's going on for the benefit of Willow Ridge High School. Listen, this is the 5th annual fundraiser, right? It's the 5th annual, right? And so, listen, there's going to be great food, great music. You're going to have a lot of vendors there, right? And it's going to be on the 4th of October from 12 to 6 p.m. And so if you're interested in yourself being a vendor, right? If you're interested in yourself being a part of the cook-off, if you really think you like that on the grill, because I know some of y'all think y'all like that, all right? Listen, then go ahead and be a vendor, right? Go ahead and join and be a part of this barbecue cook-off because, again, it's for a good cause, right? It's for Willow Ridge High School. It's going to be helping the youngsters there. They're looking to raise funds. The goal is $5,000, right? And so anything that you can give as far as a vendor fee, as far as going, hey, listen, if you just want to donate toward the cause, get in contact with Big Z, man. You see the phone number at the bottom, 281-669-6802. Make sure you get in contact with Big Z, right? You know what I'm saying? And listen, Big Z is, hey, he close to our heart, okay? Listen, if you know, he's close to the heart. So make sure you support, man, and it's a way for us to support our community as well. So again, this is the Willow Ridge Barbecue Cook-Off fundraiser taking place Saturday, October 4th from 12 to 6 p.m. So if you think you like that, hey, it's time for you to show it, right? But with that said, man, we're gonna get all the guys up on the screen. And hey, how was week 1 for you guys, man? How was week 1?
I ate some extra blood pressure medicine. That's all I know.
It was some good and exciting games on this weekend. Like you say, man, it was one of them a little bit extra to drink type of weekends. Blood pressure. Look, if you could have been selling it at the game, we could have made a whole lot of money off of
it. Hey, listen,
yeah,
that is very factual, right? You know what I'm saying? So that is pretty funny. But man, I mean, I know that there was a lot of exciting games going on. I did not hear Swang, but I would have loved to hear Swang. And listen, like Pastor Vic say, listen, Atlanta is the land. All right. Listen, shout out to Ms. Rector, No Recess, Big PVMU to the start, Mr. Carlos. Hey man, it was awesome. I understand, you know what I'm saying? He's saying watch your work, so choose your words.
He's gonna come off his heel too.
Actually meet Mr. Carlos in person too at the game. You know what I'm saying? So I told him like, hey, I understand. Listen, I'm a Saints fan, and when the Minnesota Miracle hit, my friend, we always go back and forth. He's a Texas fan, but at that day, on that time, he said, "Man, I just saw the pain in your face. I couldn't even get no shots off. I just had to let it. What happened was a shot itself. Okay, so I just had to let you just go on rest, right? Because that was you talking about taking somebody's heart out their chest, man. That game took my heart away. So I told him like, hey, I can't even. Listen. We cool because I already know how that felt. Okay, period, point blank. So, but with that being said, man, let's get into it, man. And you already know the first thing we got to talk about, man. Especially when we look at what we're looking at this week. I gotta ask you guys, man, who is your biggest winner and who's your biggest loser on this week?
My biggest winner, of course, is PV. Because nobody wanted us to win. I think TSU sold a bunch of T-shirts to the Jackson State people because they did not want us to win for whatever reason. And the biggest loser has to be, it was going to be Alcorn, but golly, FAMU.
Yeah.
Coach might have to help me with that one because I'm picking both of them. Golly.
Yes. So I had a 33 1/3% tie for the biggest loser was Alcorn, Texas Southern, for simply the way that the game was lost. And then FAM, because I think a lot of people thought in the SWAC MEAC matchups that FAM would pull that out. And lo and behold, they didn't. The biggest winner, I think it has to go to Prairie View by far. Like I say, a last-second win, first-year head coach. A long drive to win the game, and you can't ask for any more than that against your biggest rival. Like that's a walk-off win. It's not like it was a field goal. It's a walk-off touchdown, and it unfortunate for Texas Southern it happened that way. But I think you have to give it the biggest win to Prairie View. It's a conference game and to your biggest rival in your home stadium.
Yeah. Lionel, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah. So I guess when we say biggest winner, biggest loser, I guess I have to stick with the Labor Day Classic game. As much as you want to go Alcorn, I think it's a bad loss for sure, and definitely a bad loss for the conference. I guess you could say the SWAC is the biggest loser in that sense because that was not a great showing for the conference at all. And even with FAM, right, the benefit at the end of the day, we talked about it leading up to this past weekend is, a lot of teams, you got at least 3-4 games essentially to kind of figure out who you are. If RJ Johnson is not that guy and say Petty's that guy, well, they got another 3 games to actually figure it out, and they could actually get rolling in SWAC play, and we might not even be thinking about the Howard game anymore, right? I mean, Notre Dame lost to NIU last time I checked. Was it last year, right? And they still made it to championship game. So I can't necessarily say that they're the biggest loser because there still is opportunity there. So I do understand. I think I have to stick with the PV and TSU as biggest winner, biggest loser, especially this year when I keep saying that I thought whoever won this game was going to win the West. So if that's really what I believe, I have to believe that PV is the biggest winner today and Texas Southern's the biggest loser. And I see that, we got a couple comments about the game. We're going to get into it definitely. Definitely going to get into it here. But before we jump into the recap for the game, for that game, right, I just want to look and kind of talk a little bit about some of the other games that we saw from this past weekend. And what any game, stood out to you guys as far as what you saw outside of the Prairie View Texas Southern matchup?
Man, for me, it was the Alabama State UAB game because Alabama State gonna give people some problems with all that they do on offense. They mess up people key reads because you can't tell them. Most people you can just follow the guards to the football, but they got the guard going. Both guards running sweep to the right, and then they got speed sweep going to the left. Oh, and you have a pretty good athlete back there at the quarterback spot. That joker a gamer. I don't care what you say about him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I stood on the sideline a couple of years ago when he was at Texas Southern with an NFL scout, watching him throw the ball in warm-ups, and he basically said he was taking him off the list for what he saw because of the throwing motion and the ball didn't have a lot of zip. But you know, he's a football player, Jesse, like they say in the old days. But that game was a pretty good game, and I know the UAB fans probably had some extra blood pressure medicine in their pocket or took some after the game, the way it unfolded.
Yes. Yeah, because it was, to be honest, the Bees could have won that game, but it was a couple of breaks that helped UAB. And if you're an FBS team, the last thing you need is to play an FCS team and need a couple of breaks to beat them. And that really, and they couldn't do anything with Andrew Body. I think he might have made one little mistake. He threw a ball kind of backwards, but other than that, he was poised and seemed to have a really good control. It was interesting to see. I guess the OC learned from last year, unless they change OCs. Last year they used Body more like a running back that would just throw sometime. He ran some in that game, but nothing like last year. And they let his arm do the talking because he doesn't need to be getting banged around like that, and just seemed much improved and excited to be out there. He seems to be fully recovered.
He muted again. But I think that's a big part of the game. When you have a kid like that, you can't tell him not to run the ball. If you take that away from him, he's not who he is. He's a pocket passer as opposed to a dual threat quarterback. So I wouldn't ever tell a kid, look, man, I don't need you to run the ball as much because that's going to take something away. And you don't want a guy that's not in his nature to make plays. He's a playmaker. I don't look at him as just a quarterback. That joker a playmaker. I guarantee if they put him at wide receiver, he'll be pretty good. If they put him at free safety, he'll be pretty good. So
he wouldn't care, yeah.
Yeah, he's a football player. That's all you can say about him.
Yeah, it reminded me of
excellent game
when we had Aaron. He was a ball player. That's what I said about him, which is why I called him the Swiss Army knife, because that guy, he would have played offensive tackle if you told him. Mm-hmm. He just wanted to play and wanted to win. And that's what Body seems to be like.
Yeah, and just just looking at some of the numbers right from Andrew Body, 18 to 24, 312 yards, 4 touchdowns, also 16 carries, 119 yards and a touchdown, right? He really was the offense, was the offense for Alabama State. A couple of plays definitely he was able to make right when things broke down. And so it looks like also I think they believe they have a couple of wide receivers there that can make some things work. It's going to be interesting to see them again against Southern this week, and we're going to be talking about that game in a little bit because then to kind of see where the defense really is, right? Because sometimes with these games against FBS opponents, it can kind of be things don't look like how they're going to look when you get in the conference, right? At the end of the day. So even though we saw what Alabama State did on the offensive side, hey, in a couple of weeks there's going to be a lot of film on them. The way people attack them, the way people, keep a spy, et cetera, on Andrew. It's going to be a lot different than maybe the UAB game. And also from the defense standpoint, are they able to move back to the median or are they going to stay kind of in the same spot, right? That's going to be the biggest question, I think, for Alabama State because obviously they gave up a lot of yardage, right? Not just through the air, 247, 2 touchdowns for Kitna, but also on the ground, 35 carries, 273 yards total, 5 touchdowns, right? And again, how much of that is UAB is just a great offense. How much of that is, man, Alabama State is a little bit light up front, right, from what they have been before in the past. So that's the real question there. So obviously, another game that on the Thursday, right, that kind of was a shocker for a lot of people was the Alcorn game. 20-10 loss to Northwestern State. Northwestern jumped out 13-0 in the first quarter, ended up 13-0 in that first half. Alcorn started to make a little moves right in the third, scored 10, but then couldn't kind of push from there. 2 interceptions in the end zone for Jalen Tolbert. And now one thing that was really shocking to me, Coach, was he threw the ball 44 times, right? 19 of 44 for 182 yards, 2 interceptions, 33 rushing attempts, 119 yards. I'm kind of confused. And did Alcorn forget who they have been the last few years? You know, like I was kind of lost to why, because it didn't necessarily feel as if Northwestern was just completely shutting down the run game.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like they just went away from the run game, and kind of leaned on Tober a lot more than they should have, in my opinion, right? But what are your thoughts? You guys' thoughts on that game, Alcorn and Northwestern State?
From the part of the game that I saw, it looked like they were just the timing was off. Like they may have had a guy going in motion and snapped the ball either too early or too late for him to either block or get in his route correctly. So I think just the timing of the offense was off. The amount of run plays to pass plays, I think, I don't know if they just thought they couldn't handle him up front, because I did see him go to a double tight full house backfield like they did against Prairie last year, full house and run the ball. But then when they got very predictable in that, when they didn't get it, it's like they say, well, let's get away from that instead of let's see if we can throw a lot of jabs and get some punches in, and you don't have to hit the home runs or knockout punches. But I think that's where they sort of, I would say, messed up a little bit. Not, let's pound the rock some and just say we're gonna run it almost come hell or high water type of situation.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me too.
And really, Northwestern did not look good on offense. That's the other thing. That was a couple miscues that really allowed them to score, but overall they didn't look great. So I really think Alcorn has to be disappointed from this loss, because the game was there. They kind of obviously have had special teams issues a lot.
Yeah, I kept thinking that Alcorn was going to make a play, and then Northwestern was going to sort of get back into that woe is me type of mode and sort of give the game away instead of winning the football game. But Alcorn, the play where they had to snap over the head, the special teams and the 2 interceptions, it's hard to win when you pretty much giving away points and not take it. You'll take some field goals without the interceptions, and it's a totally different ball game the way it comes down at the end.
Right.
Yeah. I was surprised that Alcorn's offense was a little bit inept, because the 20-10 is a little bit tricky, because that's actually a pick six included with the 10 points. Yeah. And I just expected them to be able to score more on Northwestern's defense.
Yeah, it's I think if they go replay that game back, we'll probably see a different game plan coming from Alcorn. And because I think they had the talent to win that game. Mm-hmm. They just you had the rain delays and things like that, right? So all these things kind of affect you, and so it's really interesting. So keeping it going, right? Obviously, Florida International 42-9 victory over Bethune-Cookman. Also had Texas Tech 67-7 over Arkansas Pine Bluff. You also had Arkansas 57-7 over Alabama A&M, as well as Grambling 55-7 over Langston. We don't need to touch any of those games, right? Had the Jackson and Hampton game, 28-14. Hampton has some opportunities there, right, to extend their lead. They were up 7 early. They had a chance to also extend their lead, right? They had some chances in the red zone. Just couldn't punch it in. But they played a really, really good game. I think one thing for Jackson that, again, to me, when I know people talk about Jacobian Morgan they talk about Jacobian Morgan to me like he's Kincaid or something, right? You know what I mean? But I think he had just an okay game, right? 15 for 30, 143 yards. But Jackson's strength, again, as we talked about many times before, right, is their run game. 283 total yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. Of course, Ahmad Miller leading that charge with 10 carries, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's stepping in for where Irv Mulligan left off, right, previously. And so it looks like they're going to have a great rushing attack and rushing game again. Any thoughts from this game, with Jackson going up against Hampton?
It's going to almost be with Jackson as long as Morgan doesn't turn the football over, they're gonna be pretty decent because, like you say, when you talk about a accumulation of jabs and overhand rights,
Yeah.
they bigger than everybody almost up front, and they got some running backs that you don't want to tackle a whole lot of times. Being true, like you said, and this comes from a defensive back. You know, when you tackling guys over and over, you start looking at your defense line like, hey man, you better get in that gap. This dude getting on me too fast. So that is one of those things when you play against Jackson State. Good size tight ends, they receivers take pride in blocking. So that's one of the mouthpiece in shoulder shocker games when you're going against Jackson. And all they do is tell Morgan, hey man, don't lose it for he's the Trent Dilfer. He's gonna win a lot of games, and then every now and then he gonna make a play that can't too many people play. He's a better athlete than most people think. And he can throw it some, but that's not their strength to have him throwing it all over the field.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, they're not going to throw it all over the yard, but that offensive line, they're just going to lean on you. Because as you saw early in the game, Hampton was like punching back. But when you get deep into the third quarter with Jackson, if you can't get ahead of them and make them chase you, you're in trouble because those really big linemen are going to lean on you. You're tired now, and you're trying to swap out defensive tackles, but they're all tired. So they just keep leaning on, and then the time of possession starts running up. So now your defense is on the field even longer, and that's the main thing with Morgan. All he has to do is just not make a mistake, and that'll keep their team rolling. He doesn't have to play exciting or anything like that. He'll trick you because he'll wait all game till the third quarter to run, and then you be like, dang, that tall dude could run too.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that, but he doesn't run just out the gate. But he'll get in a situation where he's like, okay, well, I'm going to take off, and then he might rip off 15 yards. Now you got him running on your mind as well. So they got a good team.
Yeah, so let's move over to the Southern Mississippi Valley game. I think this game was probably a little closer than some people thought would be. Southern did start to pull away a little bit in that early and fourth quarter. Mississippi Valley had a chance, right? They scored late with under 2 minutes left. Couldn't stop Southern in order to get the ball back. That third quarter, they had 2 fumbles from Southern. One where Trey Holly was injured, and another one with, I think it was the Richardson kid, the kid from Jacksonville State that fumbled, right? And that one was returned for a score. And so if Mississippi Valley was able to score on the one before that, it would have really put the game in a lot different position. But again, they had their chances there, right? What's your thoughts overall from this game? And also, Jalen Woods did suffer a massive hit in that game. Went to the hospital from what Southern's put out. He is doing well, right? And that there isn't anything crazy going on with him. So we praise God for that. And so I know he's going to be kind of in concussion protocol and things of that nature. But any thoughts from just this game briefly as well?
Well, that one was tricky. I watched that game when it was closer, and I really thought, okay, of course, Northern going to laugh at me, but if Valley still had that grass, they would win that game. I'm just saying. But they that was a slugfest. The score don't really tell you like it was. And that was unfortunate for Jalen Woods. That was a weird play. They were mad about not getting the flag, but it was kind of a weird play because and I was surprised that he was even out there because Jalen is not the running quarterback, it's the other one. So I was surprised he was even running, but I think because he don't run a lot like that, he just didn't get down quick enough. And the defense
it was a QB run call, right? So I mean,
okay.
That may have been why there wasn't a flag there. I'm thinking, because he was running, right? So I guess they didn't consider it a defenseless player, I guess, So
and it looked really bad because it was actually 2 defenders there, but the second defender actually didn't hit him. But it just looked so nasty. But it was just kind of, how football is. You guys play, so you get caught at a funny angle. It just looks nastier.
But the fact that Valley doesn't have ability to replay something is outrageous. And the SWAC,
Yeah,
The
that's
SWAC
crazy.
needs to. That should not. You can't have any team and any facility that you can't replay something. That doesn't even make sense to me, right? Because now you're talking about 11 schools that's playing on a different playing field, essentially, right? Than one of your schools in the conference. So to me, the SWAC needs to do whatever they need to do in order to give them the ability to, because you can't have a game come down, for example, to something that happens and and the team wins or loses because a school didn't have the ability to just give the refs replay. That
Yeah,
is
see,
crazy.
I thought
You know what I'm saying?
what Boone just said, I thought that's what happened because they didn't throw a flag was why they didn't review it. Because some people there said that they reviewed some other plays.
Oh, okay. So, because what I had heard come out was that there was that they couldn't replay the play. Okay, so it was because they didn't throw. So they didn't replay it because they didn't throw a flag on the play. All right, that
That's
makes
why it
sense.
wasn't reviewed.
Okay, I
Yeah.
got you. But yeah, Coach, I know you want the.
Yeah, I didn't see the play yet. A lot of times with those injured, and hopefully for him, it's not a concussion because he couldn't play in the championship game because of the result of concussion protocol. So sometimes when a guy gets hit, and like I said, I hadn't seen it, it may be more of a whiplash situation instead of a concussion. So as crazy as it may sound, you would wish it was whiplash instead of a concussion because of the long-term effects of the concussion as well as
Yeah.
the short-term effects. So, like I said, I didn't see it. I will try to get to it, but Southern can run the football on you. I tell you that much.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Coach Fredericks. They're gonna run that zone and they're gonna run that one-back power, and you better be able to stop it. Now, what's gonna start happening, and in my opinion, because they can run the ball so well, they're going to get some one-on-one matchups outside. They're going to start seeing a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 1, and they'll be able to exploit that if the guys can simply hold on to the football on the outside. Because they're gonna get some favorable matchups from their wide receivers if they keep putting up 100 and something yards a game out of those running backs.
Right.
Had one 19 for 97 for Jason Gabriel and a
Yeah.
touchdown. And I know for Southern, it's good for them to look and see multiple guys right there. It's one thing you see Trey Holly every time, right? But you're seeing the Trey Holly, right? You're seeing the Franklin with some touch. You're seeing McCoy, right, with some yardage. You're seeing Jason Gabriel. That's a good thing for them, right, having multiple running backs, especially in a system like you say, Coach, where, you know guys want to run the ball, right? Coach Frederick wants to, pound the ball, right? And so having multiple running backs to go to is going to help there. So last game I want to get to before we get to the recap for the Prairie View Texas Southern game, Howard and FAMU. I think this is one that also shocked a lot of people, right? Maybe even as shocking as, I don't know if it was as shocking as Howard beating NCCU that year, right? But, FAMU comes out. RJ Johnson goes 17 for 32, 183 yards, but the offense doesn't look great. And especially when you talk about the running game, you talk about multiple, you have multiple FAMU offensive linemen, even on the SWAC first, second teams. That was one thing that you looked at and said, well, this is FAMU strength. But, man, not being able to run the ball, 89 yards rushing on 32 attempts, right? So that lets you know that they really, really didn't have a great day running the ball. That's less than 3 yards a carry. Howard as well, right? 29 carries for 56 yards, right? So they didn't have a great day on the ground either. But Tyreek starts 17 to 28, 145 yards, a touchdown, and 1 interception. So they were just able to get it done right, able to get in the end zone once, and then also get that field goal late in the game to get that win. Any thoughts on this game and kind of what is FAMU feeling right now? Again, not a conference game, but just coming out the gate with this kind of dud, man, especially cozy coming from last year, losing the PV, then losing the Valley. Now you're starting this year off losing to Howard. Whew, it's a rough spot to be in.
Yeah, I think the FAMU fan base is a lot like them jokers in Baton Rouge and Jackson, Mississippi. Anytime they lose, it's always bad coaching. They could play the Dolphins, and it's going to be bad coaching. So hopefully it's not trending in the wrong direction. He can get that shit right. But I don't think anybody expected that score, a low-scoring game, and then to come out on the wrong end of a low-scoring game. That doesn't bode well for Coach.
Yeah. And, they're pretty impatient Shotgun spoiled him after his tenure, so they're expecting some results pretty quickly. So I think that it just really would have pushed him over the hump to get that win, especially the way they tailed off last year. So you didn't want to start off this year with a loss like that, especially, they probably could have stomached it better if it was 27-24 or something, but to get 9 points out of those really fast weapons they have, people weren't expecting that.
No, definitely not. And so obviously FAMU is going back to the drawing board. They're trying to really figure things out, man, and go from there. So obviously, Tom, let's get into the game of the week essentially now. Obviously, this was the big one, right? I think it was perfect that it ended the night, right? Because just with it being on the SWAC digital network and how everything went on, it turned out to be really perfect, right? From a game standpoint, blows from both sides, right? Opportunities from both sides. Something that came down to the wire. Overall, I think, like I say, right, you got to say, man, this is a great game. You know what I'm saying? That was shown right from this day. What is your thoughts, right, on kind of what you saw from this game? Oh, sorry, it's the wrong slide. What's your thoughts from what you saw on this game? And kind of how it ended, man.
Man, for me sitting up there, calling the game for Mike Prince and his network and just watching it, I never would have thought that Prairie had that many yards of offense, especially from the low that there was in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. I almost, and I'm a defensive guy, but I almost went to sleep. It got real boring in that third quarter to me. But, man, my son is texting me while I'm calling the game and, that they cheating and all that. And I'm like, man, especially when Texas Southern scored their last touchdown, I'm like, man, they may have left too much time. And for those, a lot of people said, in my opinion, you always score a touchdown when you can, unless you got the ball inside the 10-yard line. And you for sure have you a A1 field goal kicker. People saying, well, he should have ran the clock down and kicked the field goal late to take the lead. Well, Prairie View still had a couple timeouts that they could have used. I want to say Prairie View scored the last touchdown. It may have been first down or second down when they scored. So you could only take so much time, but then you still have to kick the ball off and get the ball back to Prairie View with a clock that's going to stop on first down. So I don't agree with that strategy. I'm always score a touchdown unless you're inside the 5, and they have no timeouts left. But I thought it was a good game from both squads, a heated rivalry. The only thing I know Coach going to talk about is the amount of penalties that Prairie View had. And I'm like I say, I'm sitting up there thinking, man, my brother had this defense that they used to run in Buffalo called a picket fence, where you put four guys in the end zone about 2 to 3 yards deep, and then you put another 4 guys probably on the 3 to 5 yard line. And as guys are running downfield, they gonna jam those guys, and hopefully your defensive line. I think that was too far for Cam to run. And if you're in a cover 4, look, you make guys see the throw of the football, and you keep everybody. If you're a cornerback, you keep everybody inside of you. If you're a safety, you keep everybody to your outside. And now they don't get that throw. I think the thing that threw everything off, when that guy went in motion, Prairie got a very favorable matchup with what I call a point receiver being able to get a good release on that linebacker. It was a great call, great execution. Some people say, well, why they blitz? A lot of people, they don't want to leave it in the hands of the cornerbacks being, I would say, one-on-one without pressure. So it's one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and you hope your players make a play for you.
Yeah. And that was a tough game. I noticed Truth Seeker making some different comments in the chat, but I don't know. I know you expect players to look a certain way, but dude, I was up close. Them TSU linebackers are big, and them dudes are fast, because I saw a play where Bingman got through the line. And I said, well, he gone. And that middle linebacker came across there and lit him up. He got 5 yards before he got him, but that's because he was at the second level. But I don't know. I think that TSU team is better than people think. That and KJ Cooper, although he don't show a lot of yards in the passing, he really had command of the offense, and he basically didn't make any mistakes. And if he keeps playing like that, yeah, they're gonna win, more games the rest of that year. But they, I think the only thing that threw them off is not knowing what to expect from the offense. I would have, and the third quarter was weird because for the first, and nothing against the other staffs, but this year I saw more adjustments from both sides of the field. Texas Southern made some adjustments, running the Atheon off the edge. Like I was telling you, even before we played them, that guy is a load, and he has a low center of gravity. And when he went off those tackles, when he went off the edge, he never got less than 4.5 yards or so. So that was a big adjustment that kept them going. And I remember, and then KJ got hit. I said, "Oh, that's an interception for sure," and it was a touchdown. And my heart just sank through the floor. I was like, "God, how did he make that throw?" But when you're a quarterback with that kind of height, sometimes it's tough to get them. The thing that threw me off, and I wanted to ask Coach this while we were on the show, is the thing that turned the game to me is when the refs called that kick a touchback, but it really was at the 1, and they gave Coach Dishman a chance to take the penalty and make us re-kick, but he took it at the 1, so I was a little confused with that strategy. And I didn't know what Coach thought about that, because I think that's what really gave us the chance too.
Well, I think once he declared that he thought it was a touchback, because you could look at where the offense went back out on the field when it first happened. And I'm thinking once he said, "I'll take the ball," and I'm pretty sure he thought they would get it at the 20, but then when they got it at the 1, lo and behold, they wouldn't let him change it. So, but you did see some referees standing at the 1, but one referee did announce that it was a touchback. And that's one of those calls. If you Coach Dishman, you'll take a fine at the press conference on Monday, because really and I don't think people understand this, man, you changing people's livelihood when you make a mistake like that. So that's one that I say, hey, Mr. President, AD, Texas Southern fans, I'm about to get fined $5,000 because I'm going to say some things that I know I'm going to get fined for if it happened the way I saw it happen. And I may be totally wrong, but when I heard the announce touchback, I'm like, well, you take the ball there instead of making them re-kick.
So my question, though, is because the announcer was making announcements that was not accurate to what was actually going on in the field too. So what did the referee actually signal as a touchback? Because when I was looking, I saw the refs had the ball on the 1, and both of the line judges was on the 1 yard line on both sides. But the announcer announced like, "Oh, touchback." But I heard him announce like 3rd and 1 when it was a first down, right? Like multiple times I heard him announce things that were incorrect throughout that game. So I didn't know if that was
and you are correct on that, because a lot of times if you're on the press box side, which is where I was stationed, you cannot see the line judge signal first down or whatever. And if you looking at it, and people don't know that referees,
that's not good. So the press box where the coaches are, you can't actually see it.
You can't see the referee signal first down. I'm gonna just back up. So he's doing like this to let the other side know that it's a first down, like move the chains, but he's not doing what we normally see to say first down. And that's operational from, as a coach, you may say, "Oh, you thinking we got it," but then when you look over there, and from where I can see a couple times, that the down marker, which just has a light on it that tells you they were wrong on that. It was
they were wrong on that multiple times. I saw that from the stands, right?
Yeah, I saw that too.
So that's one of those things that if I am a coach I'm gonna bring that up because you affecting whether or not my kids get their tuition paid. So it's different things like that. That as a coach, I was real big on operation of the game, and just sort of go from there. But that was a big call. That was a turning point in the ball game, if you ask me.
Okay, gotcha. Because that wasn't the one the safety came on though. I know the next one after that.
No, that wasn't the one we got the safety.
With the safety. But I think overall, I mean, it's like the referees had a first game too, basically, because I felt like there was a lot of things. I don't know, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but at the end of the day, it worked. The biggest one to me was really that pick, which when I watched it back, I don't know. Maybe you can help me to understand why they call a flag there, because obviously it worked itself out. You know what I'm saying? Like they say in basketball, right? Ball don't lie.
Yes.
But to me, right? Like, let me see if I can pull this up, right? Because when I'm looking at it, I don't think those receivers and those cornerbacks don't affect this play at all whatsoever, right?
Let me tell you what makes it worse, as the kids say. They didn't even need to run the pick, because watch the guy that's running with the man in motion.
He never caught him. He never caught up to him.
So this is my. But so I guess my thing is where was the pick? I guess is my question.
So look at the outside receiver. Okay. He should run his route like he running a slant, but he runs and sits, which to the referees is not a natural route. You're gonna run a slant or you're gonna run back to the corner, but just let it play out and watch the outside receiver, how he comes in and sits. That's what they call a pick.
So when he goes, now you see the DB right now, he pointing.
Yeah, that's the number 5. Number 5.
But you're gonna see him just let it run.
Yeah, let it run.
See, now he's coming. You see how he picked. Watch the outside receiver, how he runs.
Oh, when he turned his back.
Yes. That's not a natural route to the referee.
I missed that then. Okay.
Let me go back. Let me see if I can go back.
Now, see, I don't know if that was the play. Well, because it looked like he turned his back to look at Jones catch the ball. But like you said, to the ref, it looked like he's backing into him to pick him. But he really turned because he knew where that play was going.
He knows he's not getting the ball on that play.
But I guess So
let me tell you something.
So I guess I
let me explain it from a coach's standpoint. All right, watch the guy that's going in motion.
Okay.
So what some people will do, the guy that's over the slot receiver up top, they'll tell him he's gonna bump off to the motion guy and let the guy that's trailing take the guy that's already over there. So that's why it looks like a pick, even though the guy is real far away. But like I say, we call it 222 flat at Grambling. And see how he turns? He's picking a slot guy, which could have switched off, but like you say.
But I get the only reason I have an issue with it though is because that DB, right? If you actually watch the actual play though, that DB actually never falls off to go take him, right?
No,
that's my issue with it though. It's like he turned because the ball went that way too though. So it's kind of like And 25 didn't like drop. He's literally running with him. He turned his head to look at the ball too. So that to me is why I'm like, I don't know about that one. Like, I just feel like that was, to me, that's a really quick flag off of like, man, they don't pick the man that's running. The guy who was coming this way that he turned with, he's also turning with them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. That one was like, after I watched it back, I'm like, man.
The thing about it, that's why a lot of people play zone defense in the goal line. If you remember when Clemson beat Alabama, that's the same exact play right there. Just an old school rub route and get the ball to Renfro in the flat, one of those type of deals. So everybody in America run it, but that's why you see a lot of people go to matchup zone instead of man down there.
So now what is the correct way to run this route, right, to where it's not flagged though, right? You know what I mean?
Tell the outside receiver, run a slant because you are not getting the ball unless you come open late. or unless you get outside leverage by the cornerback. So that's what you tell him. Don't run and sit and set the pick, which it's a rub for the offense, is a pick for the defense. The second receiver, and I don't know what his route was. He supposed to run a corner route, or was he supposed to set a pick as well? But the second receiver is not getting that ball either. If he gets the ball, he probably gonna get it in the middle of the end zone. But you just tell him run their routes.
When you say the second receiver, are you talking about the guy? Why are you talking about the slot? Okay,
the guy in the slot receiver. That's number 2. So as a defensive coach,
I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. But I'm pretty sure he was not the picker. The outside guy is the picker. It should be 2 slants and a flat route.
Yeah.
So now, if he runs a slant and he runs into the DB, they're not gonna throw that flag
because it looks like a natural route.
Yeah, if he hadn't turned around.
Yes.
Yeah, because it threw it off because he would have been open anyway, because I saw them run this exact play in practice, and Jones was wide open, but Cam didn't throw it. And he went back and told him, hey, man, when I run that, I'm going to be wide open in that corner, because he did our defense like that, but they didn't grab the receiver. So it wasn't a flag in practice, but because they practice, and call flags.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, he stopped and turned around to look at Jones catch it, and that made it look like he's backing into him. But you're right.
We knew where the ball was going, right? So
it should have been going to him from the get-go. The other thing, and Lionel, you're a basketball guy. What it looks like, what most people call an elevator screen, where you squeeze 2 guys and then have the guy run through it. That's what it turned into, because the spacing wasn't good on the offense. But like I say, that's a good play, good design play. But it's just
I love the design, but it's honestly, on a touchdown play, I don't even know what the design was. I just know 14 got lost and he scored a touchdown. That's all I know, because I don't remember anything else. Okay, I'm just so. But gutsy throw by Cam, obviously, to end the game. But I see a lot in the chat, about TSU. I thought TSU played well. I saw, I know Truth Seeker said, right, he thought Prairie was the bigger, stronger, faster team, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, listen, I get it. None of that really matters when you got 15 penalties, 159 yards, right? You know what I mean? Because all that, listen, all that does away with all that bigger, faster, stronger, and you down by 5 with 1:16 left, right? So I do think, right, if the penalties are cleaned up, I do feel like there's a couple more scoring opportunities that's there that we may be able to take advantage of, because in the third quarter, and I think that's the lull you're talking about, because we moved the ball well, but we get to the 40. Same thing that happened to us last year, right? We get down to, say, 40, 35-yard on TSU. Now we get a holding penalty, right? I remember one drive, we got to the 36-yard line. It was 3rd and 1. We have a 5-yard, penalty on the false start, right? And then that's when we ran kind of like the little toss play and lost 2 yards, right? So, so we had some opportunities, right, getting into TSU side of field where we just didn't take advantage of it. And I know those are some things we're going to be looking back at, right, to say, hey, that's the same issue we had last year. We definitely got to fix that, because, if we could have even on the one that Ojo dropped earlier, right? I mean, great setup, great play call with that flea flicker, literally goes through his hands, right? I mean, he brings that in. You're up 7 now, midway through the third quarter, and that also puts you in a way better position too. So, there was definitely a lot that you can look at and say that you say, okay, I like, especially from a defensive side of things too as well. And so that's why I always say the main thing with this game is get out of it with the win. I mean, it's really just is what it is, right? It's the first game. You have nothing that you can look at, nothing you can show for. You got a conference game against your rival. You just got to win it, right? You know what I mean? Because from what I saw from the TSU side of things, I still think that team can beat any other team in the West, right? I think their team can beat Alabama A&M. I think they can go through the rest of their schedule and still be very competitive and have a shot at winning the division, right? So that's why this game was so important. And I think our schedules are basically the same this year too, right? So that's why it was, super important. But any other thoughts from this game before we move on?
I had a question for Coach. And I might be just being biased, but I'm curious about wide receiver blocking, because the reason Renfro was able to get that zone stretch where he ran off tackle a lot is because the receivers were blocking so well. But if you're outside the tackles, can you come up under them like that? Because both sets of receivers was blocking like that, but we kept getting called for the hold. I thought you had to have them outside and controlling them that way to get the holding penalty. And it was, and not saying they were cheating for Texas Southern, but I'm just saying they were letting their receivers be a little more physical with their blocking than they did on us, because a couple of those, some of those we did do it because the receiver tackled the guy.
Yeah.
But a couple of them, he had them like at the chest plate. And I didn't know, I thought that was okay, but maybe if you're outside the tackles, you can't block like that.
Well, if you're outside the tackles, you have to block above the waist. But part of and a lot of holding penalties are not the fault of the holder. And like I say, this is somebody that I grew up playing running back and moved to defense in college. I was always taught to run to a guy's butt, because if you run to a guy's butt that's blocking for you, that means the defensive player is on the other side. What a lot of guys try to do is run what we call across the guy's face, and now the defensive player is getting away from the guy that's blocking. Now he's end up looking like he's holding instead of the guy running off his butt.
Okay.
Hey, now a couple of times, and I laugh, I say this jokingly, it was some sexual assault charges by some guys holding out there. I mean, they were grabbing people from behind, jumping on their back.
They did do
it was
that.
bad. But like I say, sometimes those holding penalties by the wide receivers are the fault of the runner, and then on some of those they were throwing screens. And you got to remember, the defensive player, if he sees screen, he can move before the ball is snapped, and now he can put that wide receiver behind him. So that's what happened on a couple of those. They saw the guy motion from the backfield, a motion from 2 to 3, and now they know a screen is coming, and we call it trigger. Once those guys trigger, now the wide receiver, he's really put in a bad spot. So I know they're going to work on that, and then they'll probably work on what tendency can we change to not show this play.
Yeah, because it seemed like the holding was really, I mean, we had a bunch of holding calls. I mean, it makes me wonder, like, okay, is that just the way we were teaching them to do something, and that's now the SWAC referees are kind of saying, nah, this thing, right, we're not going to allow that, right? Because receivers were holding calls. I mean, on kick returns, we had obviously offensive linemen. I mean, literally, we had so many holding calls this game, and it really hurt.
The other thing about it too, Texas Southern defense line pretty doggone good. They got some size. Yeah, they wasn't just trying to bull rush and long arm. They had some spin moves. They had some grab, club, and rip. They came to the game well prepared. So I think what Prairie probably gonna do, they gonna be way more aggressive in their blocking scheme, and that may be one of the best defensive lines they gonna see all year. Being honest with you,
I know. How'd you like those defensive ends, boy? I tell you, they were crashing down like for real.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I guess the holding kept them from giving up a sack. So because we didn't give up any sacks this game, we did give up a lot of holding yards though. But it's about the same thing. But at least on the stat sheet it looked good, right? You know what I mean? Now, Darius asked Coach, why do you think we kind of offensively, right? Why were we running the ball, up the middle more than he said? It looked like the secondary didn't play it as great, right? And so why didn't we take more shots downfield, versus east to west?
Well, one thing you got to do to take shots downfield, you got to get a quarterback time. So you playing against a pretty good, and Texas Southern played a lot of cover 2 and cover 3. They didn't play a whole lot of man. So I think their premise was we're gonna play 2 and 3 and let the defensive line make the ball bounce outside and make plays from there. So you got to have time to get the ball downfield, and then you see the holding penalties that was happening. So it's a double-edged sword. The other thing, a middle run is a power or off tackle run. It looks like a middle run because what some teams do, they'll box it where they try to keep the ball inside or spill it and try to make the ball go outside. And depending on how they play it will determine where the ball is going to go. So some of those off-tackle runs turn into inside over the guard runs based off of how the defense play. And sometimes if you look at the situation, especially some of those runs that Cam had, it was just let's get a couple yards. And then that doggone Bing, man, I just like the way that kid get behind his pads. He's not a real, and he's always getting he reminds me of Ornell Fontenot, who was at Prairie. You know, you look up and you say, man, that was a 6-yard run, and it looked like he got 3 because he's always going forward, spinning, rolling. And then the Joker don't hardly fumble the football. That's another good thing about it. So those runs can be determined by the defense more than coach calling a play to run up the middle.
When you look at, I think that's, Bingman, you think of McDowell, you look at Brandon Campbell, one thing, you look at kind of all of them over the course of their time. I mean, obviously Bingman only a freshman, but you look at McDowell and you look at Campbell, one thing that you see, right, is they haven't fumbled the ball hardly at all over the course of their 4 or 5 year college career, right? And so that's a great thing to have, if you got running backs that protect and take care of the ball. Something the coaches harp on a lot, right, is we don't want to turn the ball over. Did win the turnover battle. I think we lost special teams, lost penalties, right, but we won the turnover battle, right? So that obviously helped us a lot, in order to get this game. And, like I said, we moved the ball well. We shot ourselves in the foot by having penalties once we got on the other side of the field. And so if we can kind of clean those things up, I think we'd be well. Kerry makes a statement, too, about the participate with the band. And I saw somebody, Mr. Kelly, also said this, too. And, this is something that even I think Trucy can talk about it with Texas Southern and say that Coach had told them that they were loud too loud at different times, right? I think that's the thing. I don't know what's going on. We need to get on the same page, right, in this conference and understand when your offense got the ball, you need to shut up, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like,
chill out.
Like everybody playing drums back and forth, right? You know what I'm saying? These different fanfares, like we trying to score right now. Like what are you doing, right? You know what I'm saying? I remember they was playing drums. We was on our own side of the field. We had just got the ball. It was deep. We deep on our side, right? Trying to get out. And the drum line playing like, what are we doing right now? Okay, what are we doing? So we got to figure that out because I don't know what issue is that. I think it's kind of like a 3-3-5 essentially, right? You know what I'm saying with this 2-12 defense, right? 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and then 5 DBs, right? Is what the formation is. So with that said, man, hey man, we're gonna go under the headset for a few minutes here, right? Coach Northern, right, last week took us under the headset, and we had a great conversation about looking at the different formations, right, on the defensive line, right. We also talked about the running back positioning and how it can tip off and tell you exactly kind of the play that's coming. And I actually was paying attention this past week, Coach, and not gonna lie, you don't be lying. You told the truth because I looked and I realized, like, oh man, that is exactly what is going on right now. So Coach is gonna also talk to us a little bit now today. We got a couple different things under the headset he's gonna mention and talk about. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at call sheets and percentages, right? This week under the headset. So Coach, you can take it away.
All right, I'm gonna ask my sister. I'm gonna try to pay attention in the notes if she's still on. Give me about 5 or 6 good minutes. So as a defensive play caller, this is how I prepare for a game. So I would usually watch the film. I start watching film on our next opponent on Thursday night. So depending on if we were playing on the road, if my wife was in town or out of town, all that type of stuff went into how much I worked on Thursday night. So I don't know if y'all can you put this sheet up for them, Lionel, the film breakdown sheet. So basically, this is what all I did. So I did a minimum of 3 games per team that we played. So I would break down a film of maybe their last game. One team that played a defense very similar to us, different things like that. But this is what I would do. You see, it's a column for the hash. What hash is the ball on? What yard line is the ball on? What's the personnel group? So you see those 20s. We talked about that a little bit before. It's 2 backs, no tight end, 3 wide receivers. Then the down and distance, P and 10 as the very first play after you get the ball. The formation is what I see. And see, I write it out in English. So if you talk to anybody that played for me or any coach, they should, if I put open left split gun, they should be able to go draw that up on the board, open left split gun. And then I write down the play. If it was a motion or a shift, I put that down. And then I put some notes. So in the notes, you see they gained 5 yards. The tailback was in A3. So A3 sort of gives me where they lined up at, those types of things. So I would do 3 games. The first time I watched the game, I just let it run through. Don't take any notes on it. See if I can pick up something, what I call naked eye. The next time I watch it, I'm writing this down, and I would probably watch, on some plays, I would watch every play 11 times. So you think you got 60 plays on average, 60 plays, 11 plays, 11 times per play, how that adds up. And then what I would do, if you can see this, I'm see if I can put this the right way. So now I come up with these, I group them up, and then I have tallies, and that'll tell me how many times per down and distance did they run each play. Then I have another coach. He is going to tally what they did in 20 personnel. Every play that they ran out of 20 personnel, 10, 11, and he's going to give me another chart. And then we can pretty much from there figure out what plays are they going to run. Go to the 2 sheets side by side for me. So if you look at that where it says Alabama State, and this is one of my actual sheets when we played Alabama State. I'm not sure what year, but you can see the PN10, 45, 55. And they were a team that matched up pretty well. Some teams you'll see PN10 will be way out of, it'll be more run, 1st and 10 more pass. I think on the Bacon sheet, you'll see the difference. Run on PN10, they 85%. So sometimes in football, 80% equals 100% for some people. Then you see 1st and 10, now they've got a first down. Look how much more they passing the ball than they were running it earlier. So you go through all of that. My breakdown, so this is how I decided how I'm going to stop somebody. My first thought process is, how can I stop them in my base defense, whether it was 4-3 cover 4, cover 2, 4-3 cover 3 with a safety walk down? Do I need to go to my 4-2-5 look or my 4-4 stack look or my 3-4 look? So in whatever defense, I want to stop him in my base defense. My next thought process is, and I'm doing this for every down and distance, how can I stop them with a 5-man pressure? So if I'm in my 4-4-3 look, it's going to be the 4 defensive linemen and one of those linebackers or a cornerback 9 times out of 10. So then my next thought is, how can I stop them? Game on the line, I need to cover 0. Do I send pressure, or how do I go about sending more guys than they can block? Do I overload? I used to like to overload the running back, because the running back, you can make him wrong. It's hard to make the offensive line wrong, but you can make the running back guess. And that's how I went through the whole game. But the thing about it, when you get close to the end of the game, all those play calls you see on that yellow sheet, it's going to come down about 3 or 4 plays. And I'm not real big on calling something that the guys can't execute late that we hadn't practiced a whole lot unless I'm coming out of timeout. So if you look at the top against Bacon where it says Ebony Lightning, that's something that we practice a good bit, but not a lot. So I may have that play actually drawn up on the card, and I'll say, look, guys, we're gonna run this. And if they give us trips or empty, we're going to check to America. And everybody on our defense, if you talk to my guys right now, they could probably draw up America right now with no problem. Because, like I say, it's an old school, and it's called America because everybody in college football runs that blitz. So, and I can, fool with it different ways, but that's how we get to our call sheet now. And Thursday night starts this. Friday when we get to the hotel, I'll do this a little bit, and then Saturday morning, depending on who we playing or what time the game is, I'll finish it up, and then Sunday I'll get the team that we play the following week. I'll break their film down as soon as I can get my hands on. But one thing that I did too during the summertime, I gave every coach on my staff, whether it's a GA, full-time, volunteer, they had 2 or 3 games that they had to break down. We would go through our whole schedule. I want you to break this down, and then you stand at the board and give me a scout report. What do you like to do? Not what Coach Northern, what do you think? And then we pull those folders out when we get to our game week from the presentation. And I had guys that work for me, especially some of my younger GAs from when I first got there. You know, they'll call, hey, Coach, I really appreciate that, because that helped them when they start trying to get their first job. You know, it's quite a few guys that played for me are high school coaches. So, that's sort of how we got to, or how we get to that on the road or home. That's how we get to our call sheets for defensive coaches.
Hey, Coach, man.
Yes, sir.
That's a breakdown. All right, you know what I'm saying? Hey, if you didn't know, we got a real coach here. This ain't no fake coach. He ain't just got no name, right? He been in the trenches, and so, man, we appreciate that for breaking it down. It really shows, one, you know, the amount of work, right, and time, right, and detail that goes into putting the game plan together. And I think it's interesting that, as you make the point, that at the end of the day, when you get down to the nitty gritty of things, it really starting to come down to, hey, 3-4 calls that we know that we can use to try to stop this team when it comes down to the fourth quarter. And that's why when you see people talk a lot about you seeing things over and over again, that's the reason why, right? Is because, hey, I know my guy can execute this specific thing very well, and I need this specific amount of yardage, or I need to stop this specific play. I'm going to go to it because I trust it.
Let me tell you something. If you watch a lot of football, you know, and one of my former players, one of my former GAs is on the staff at the University of Georgia. Somebody said when they get down to it, Georgia gonna play cover 1, and everybody in the country know they're gonna play cover 1. Old school Miami used to play cover 2, and they gonna play something easy and they gonna run 1 or 2 blitzes. I heard a guy talking the other day. He was talking about how you can have guys that don't know what they're doing, but they can play football, and guys that can know what they're doing that's not real good football players. So you want to have a good mix of what do you have on your team from a standpoint of football knowledge. And you could say, like we call it New Orleans public school football, hey, man, see that brown thing, go get to it and take it from the other team.
Exactly. Mr. Curran says, do you think AI can help in today's evaluations?
Yes, from a standpoint of when you're talking about percentages a little bit, but you still got to put in work. So now they have huddle. So we used to just get the tape and go through it. So now, just say the coach at Prairie View, they can get a game, and so they may say, all I want to look at is 1st and 10s. All right, all I want to look at is all the second down plays, and it may be broken down 2nd and long, 2nd and medium, 2nd and short. So you can just pull that out now, whereas we had to watch it on film or DVDs. And then once I got huddle, I would press a play, and then you can put it on repeat that same play over and over instead of having to toggle back and forth with your remote. So the AI and the computer programs now, like you can say, hey, man, let me get 20 personnel only, 1st and 10, and that's all I want to see. And, man, it's almost like they say it'll blow your brains out when you look at, man, we've been doing all of this, and all I had to do was that. So, but I'm still old school because I know it's time for me to watch it in sequence to see, is it happening the way. And then the one thing I forgot too, on even if you were looking at at the game the other night, on some of those big plays, the sudden change, did they go for play action passes? Or, I was surprised when Texas Southern had the real long kickoff, they ran the ball. And so I was thinking they put formation into the bound. I'm like, okay, here come the reverse. And then they just handed it off. Joker scored on the first play. So it's still some go against the grain, but Yeah, it's tough. I see somebody say, ask coach how hard you don't have no film on. Well, in today's football, you get film on everybody. Actually, I remember when we used to have to wait on the bus to come from Alabama to Grambling, bringing us film on the Greyhound. I remember when Coach Richardson and Florida A&M, because it was a non-conference game, they didn't want to send film, and Coach made a statement about, somebody going to get embarrassed, and lo and behold, it ended up being Southern. So it's a whole lot. Like back then, we used to have to mail tape. Now you send over the internet, so you get film on everybody.
Yeah, and that's it's kind of a, I guess, is it an actual written rule? Is it an unwritten rule? I mean,
no, if you don't have the film uploaded by a certain time, you'll get fined by the SWAC if it's an in-conference game. Non-conference, the two coaches have to come to agreement. Like, I'll send you maybe 1 or 2 film over the summer, and just say if I'm playing Prairie, playing UT, RGV, or whatever they call,
they ain't got no film.
They may say we don't want to exchange film because your game was on TV. But to me, it's harder to break down film off a TV copy because you can't see all the players on the film sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I have had to do a game off of film.
They ain't got no film. They ain't got no film. So I mean, they ain't nothing to exchange with them. You know what I'm saying?
We'll get it done some kind of way. Look, there might be one of those. We got to go to the student parking lot and film off the iPhone and get some plays or something.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just so, speaking of a UTRGV, right, and Soul Rush, right? Let's talk about this game preview that's coming up. Obviously Prairie View got through the first conference game, but now obviously we got the game against UTGRV. And it's a game where you don't really know, right? There's it's a lot of guesswork, kind of, right? Because you don't really have you don't got one game right now, and they played, I think, Soul Rush University. How much, hey, you just kind of got to go with what's there, right? But what do you think the keys are for this game, especially knowing that it's a team with a lot of FCS transfers, a lot of FBS guys, right? Also a lot of redshirt freshmen that's been in the program so far. But some of those guys are seeing their first collegiate action last week, this past weekend, yesterday. But how do you prepare for this game if you're Prairie View, and what are the keys for them to come out with a victory?
The biggest thing Prairie View going to have to do, number one, is cut down on the penalties, which you expect to happen. A lot of people say the biggest improvement that you make comes between week 1 and 2 in college football because there is no preseason. The other thing, a big part of winning is not beating yourself in a special teams game, getting off the field on third down. And like people say, man, that's coach talk. But if you go back and look at the numbers, very rarely do you have a lot of penalties, have bad third down on defense, getting off the field, or turnovers. So those are keys. And that's something AI will tell you. Like, what are some numbers that almost guarantee victory in football? But people think it's coach talk, but it's not. Like I said, you don't want to be disrespectful, but those numbers hold true in, like they say, 90-something% of the time. And then I see my sister said something about punt and kick coverage. That's the hardest thing because you don't really practice kickoff return, punt return, kickoff, full speed during training camp because that's you got guys running from a long distance, and you're going to have some guys that's going to run down on kickoff team that's trying to make the team that's going to hurt somebody. So you practice that in tight. You want guys to know their assignments without beating their bodies up on the kickoff stuff. So that's a tough one. And I really expected big plays on both sides. 1 and 4 from Texas Southern could fly. So that's a they had some long ones, but it's something that's hard to practice half speed, but you don't want to practice at full speed type of deal for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Mr. Mickens, what's your thoughts on this one coming up against UTRGV?
Well, one thing is don't look at what anybody says on YouTube because they threw a lot of money at this team for it to be their first year. And if you paid attention, I don't know what Saul Ross got going on, but I don't care if you plan to watch the Generals. Those jokers threw 26 out of 27 passes that were completed. And the starter was 18 out of 19. The only thing I could see is he didn't seem to run a lot. So you just gonna have to figure out to make sure he gets the pressure, but our D backs are gonna have to be aware. Because even if they were out there throwing with nobody in space, 26 out of 27 is pretty accurate. So they're D3. Okay.
Yes.
So and looking at their roster, they're not the smallest team either, but they're young. So we should be able to exert our will on them because they are big, but they're still a younger team. But we can't just go out there and take them lightly because they just started, because they've really been working hard. Just like Coach Jackson said, we work kind of different, but they probably been working hard too, because I think it's not much else to see down there. And now that they have football, their fans are really into it. You saw how many tickets they sold already. And this team is going to get good really fast. Maybe not this year, but just like Tarleton, they're going to get good pretty quick. So I think don't take them lightly and cut down on the penalties and play better, special teams.
Yeah, haven't been able to check the game out yet. It is on ESPN Plus. They had the attendance listed at 12,726, right, which was a sellout for them. They think they have 12,000 seat stadium there, right? So they're doing some great things down there. I definitely think they're going to be moving, fairly quickly as far as building that program up. And, but this is going to be their first FCS game, right? They did play Saul Ross, like Boone said, right? It's a D3 school, so you expect them to kind of handle them, pretty handily, right? So this week is definitely going to be a great test for them, and also I think it's going to be another good test for us, right, out of conference. Another game again, right, to help us build that momentum, right? I think that's the benefit a lot of teams have. They have those multiple games where they get a chance to kind of understand who they are. I think now we're finally getting that chance, and so it's going to be real interesting to see kind of if we can come out with the victory. Like you say, I think because they are a younger team, I think that's going to help us out a lot, right? Not having to play a team that kind of has a lot of older guys on there, right? But we're going to see, man. I do want to remind everybody, if you want to call in, got any thoughts, right? The call-in number for the show is up here, up above, right? And so you want to go ahead and get in line, right? If you got any thoughts about the Texas Southern game, got any thoughts about this game that's coming up here against UTRGV, or any other games around the SWAC that you want to speak on, man, go ahead and hit that call-in line, and we'll get you on. But at this time, we're going to go to everybody's favorite segment. I think, Coach, that we added a segment that's now kind of rivaling Northern Lights, right? So I think people now have a hard time of saying. If I ask them now, they may say, "Man, I don't know. I kind of like Under the Headset too." But that Northern Lights, man, is something different. And so on this week with Northern Lights, man, we're gonna be talking about funny moments from film study, right? You know what I'm saying? So, Coach, man, it's your time again, putting the spotlight on you. So you take it away.
All right. So, like I say, man, as a coach, I spend numerous hours watching film, but sometimes it does get a little bit boring. Not boring, but you'll wake up and be like, man, had I seen that already? So I'm gonna just go through some things that I've seen in all the years of watching film. I'm going back to my high school days first. The crazy, or maybe one of the worst things I ever saw was I got my leg broke when I was in 10th grade. We playing in Mangum, Louisiana, which is close to Monroe, but not in Monroe. And I get hit on a freaky play. The guy, that's back when you could crack back on guys on defense, but he cracked back on me low, and my leg took a funny turn, and I didn't think my leg was broken, but I went to the sideline like, okay, and they scored a touchdown on that play, by the way. So the next time we get ready to go back on defense, I try to get up and my leg not working like it was supposed to. So I fall back down. But we get back to school. And matter of fact, I ride all the way on the bus from Mangum, Louisiana, back to Baton Rouge. The next day, my leg's still hurting, so my dad takes it. And then we find out the next day that it is broken. Go to school on Monday, and they watching film, and this is no lie. The very first play, I come to the meeting late, the very first play I get in there is the video of me getting my leg broken. So that was a tough one to see right there. Now, watching the games, my son, who's a freshman at Prairie View, Coach Orlando had a son that was a little bit older than Adam. They would travel with the team a lot of times. And, man, seeing those kids, especially the Stephen F. Austin game, when we beat them up there, it was raining and sideways, miserable, muggy, all that type of stuff. But you just seeing those kids in the background celebrating when we make a field goal or make a touchdown. But then you see them jokers gyrating and pointing at the other team players and stuff like that. So that was sort of funny. So most of the time when I watch film with the sound off. For some reason, I think somebody had been in my office watching TV. I had a combo with the DVD player and the VCR. So I pop in the DVD of practice, and man, the film guy is talking about, one instance, he's talking about selling some weed to somebody. Another instance, he's talking about selling Viagra to some of the people in the neighborhood. And then he's mentioning that, man, I even got such and such that work on campus buying his Viagra and Cialis from me. So I thought that was sort of funny. But like I say, I never really watched film with the sound on. Now, my first year at Grambling, I was actually the running backs coach. So I had a kid that kept begging me to get in during practice. So he wasn't going to be my running back. So I say, hey, man, why don't you try fullback? He said, I got it, coach. I'm tough. So I put him in at fullback. And the guy, we call it ISO, B-gap ISO. Man, a linebacker saw him in and took off running. So when he gets hit, it's like his eyes went to me. I'm standing over his right shoulder. It's like his eyes went to me and they look like this. And you could hear me in the background as he is falling to the ground. He's looking at me like, Coach, why in the hell did you put me in? And you can hear me before the young man hits the ground yelling, trainer. So, like I say, it's funny, but it's not funny. Just the way that joker looked and said, man, why you did this to me, coach? So that was sort of funny too. Then in some of the highlight films, and this happens a lot during recruiting, after you sitting in the office all day, you watching Belleville, Brookshire Royal, all them little small town football players, and the jokers, you start noticing stuff on the sideline. So we watching this one it's a small private school, I think close to Huntsville. And they got a running back that's pretty good, but, he playing against not so good people. But every time he scored a touchdown, you look at the side, when we watching from the home team side, you see the cheerleaders, either they doing the worm or these little girls was out there twerking and stuff on the sideline. So, you see stuff like that. Now, this the last one I thought was one of the funniest things I ever seen. I'm not going to tell you where I was. So the GoPro cameras came out. So I'm at this place, and all the quarterbacks got GoPros on their helmet. But the coach has a remote for every camera. So this was used to see what are the quarterback, are they eyes in the right place? Does a guy look open? All this type of stuff. So the one quarterback is getting live reps. We doing pass scaling. He's getting live reps. But the coach is hitting the remote for, I'm going to say, quarterback 3. So when we get back to the meeting room, instead of getting quarterback 2's reps, he's filming, hitting the button to see what quarterback 3 is looking at. God on the street. Man, every time he hit quarterback 3 video, he looking at one of the trainers or the equipment manager's butt. And you could, he not just looking at it, it's like he's staring at this girl walking by. the equipment manager, he's staring at this. So I think that's one of the top funniest things. That's the end of it right there. One of the top funniest things that I've seen with the GoPro, and all this dude is doing is looking at butts walking by. Look, then we bring it up to him. It's like, hey man, why are you looking at those girls like that? So he was like, Coach, I was paying attention. I was listening more than I was looking though.
I can't do it. He was young. He couldn't help it.
Hey, look, them training camp eyes, that's true now. Look, them 2s and 3s start looking like 12s and 13s by their third week of training camp.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Man, that's too funny. I can't even. The fact that they had the guy selling Viagra and Cialis.
Hey man, look.
And then he named the person on campus as if he not filming something in the first place. This is not like it ain't got no audio to the film at all. That's hilarious.
I'm telling you, I keep telling people we need to write a book. Did this really happen? And it's not just Prairie View, like different stories. I mean, different mascots, same stories though. But man, it's fun as I don't know what some of the stuff that we could talk about. That people like, man, that you straight line, Coach. Like they say, hand to God, hand to God.
Man, that's too funny. That
That's
too funny. Like this. Oh man, so hey, Coach, you always got something in the back pocket, man. These stories be hilarious, So
you know what the funniest thing about it? A lot of people, and especially I would think some of the female student athletes that would be around, they probably would think I'm the meanest dude in the world because I just look at them like, I don't want to talk to you type of stuff. But it is funny when people realize like the sense of humor, and then you, as a coach, you spend so much time away from your family. You got to find ways to sort of make the job enjoyable because,
True.
Like I say, it'll be sometimes where the only time coaches sleep in their bed, especially during recruiting season, may be Saturday night from the whole week, or doing certain days like Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for most coaches are long days at the office type of stuff. So you got to find a way to either make it humorous, find some fun, play some music in the background, all that type of stuff to make the day go by.
Nah, that's real, man. So, hey, listen, that was another segment of Northern Lights talking about funny moments from film study. So that was pretty. Hey, which one was? What was the funniest one for you, Mr. Mickens?
I like the headset and the worm. Those two got me. But the headset is. Because he said, no, Coach, that ain't what I was looking at. No, the camera's right here.
Hey, then we say the eye in the sky don't lie.
Oh man, listen, film don't lie. Oh man, that man got caught in 3D, HD, But with that said, man, talking about getting caught in HD, man, we got a great game coming up this weekend. Alabama State, Southern, right? I think this one again is a non-conference game, right? Again, we know Southern, like to play those SWAC non-conference games, so it's gonna be the second SWAC non-conference game on the schedule. But I think this one is big. From the standpoint that, especially seeing what Alabama State's offense was able to do last week against UAB on Thursday. This is a great test for Southern to kind of really know, like, okay, where are we really, right? We kind of believe Central is a team that's at the top tier and the top echelon of HBCU ball, right? A team that has the possibility that we could see in a Celebration Bowl if we had that opportunity. We go up against a Valley, right, that gave us a lot of great blows, right? A program that with Buckley that's looking to build. Now we really kind of want to get a chance to see a team that really should be kind of in that median range as far as a team that has the talent to win a division, right? That believes it has a chance to win a championship in the SWAC. And so I think this is a great kind of middle ground test for Southern, right? You kind of really, as far as their schedule is concerned, right? You've seen a top tier program. You've seen a program that you believe kind of is more kind of toward the bottom of the conference. And now you get to see a team that you kind of probably believe is in the middle. And really out of these three games, you really get to kind of know where you are, I feel like, right? And so that's why I think it's a really good game. Also for Alabama State, just saw what you're able to do against UAB. You've been able to see what Southern's struggles have been these first couple weeks, and now you get to see like, hey, can we replicate what we saw in this first game, right? Is this something that's duplicatable and that we can now roll throughout the season with? Or are we going to have some things that kind of show up and pop their head to show that, okay, we're not exactly where we want to be, right? From not just from an offense side of things, but also most importantly now from a defensive side of things, because that is definitely a unit where you saw you had some struggles this past game. And so can we stop Southern, right? Because, hey, they want to run the ball just like UABB did all last Thursday, right? And so this is going to be a great test for them as well. What's your guys' thoughts on this game and the keys for victory for both of these programs?
Yeah, this one's tough because we'll get to find out if Alabama State has the brick wall at the front seven like they usually have, because Southern is going to definitely test the run defense. And then once they kind of lull you in with the running, they turn around and pop you with a decent long pass. So they're going to have to be aware on both ends of the ball. And then we also get to see, because I know in the offseason people talked about Southern's defense, so we'll get to see if their defense is going to hold up against Alabama State. There were some complaints about Southern being a little smaller up front than they usually are. So Alabama State might test their run against them because is it Postclaws? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But yeah, they're going to try to see if he can, push them, if his running can penetrate that defense pretty good. And then you got Andrew Body as a threat to go up top as well. So it's going to be a good test for both the teams, actually.
Yeah, I think what Alabama and State does on offense is going to cause people problems because they give you some false reads. You have a good guy, quarterback. He plays like he understands football very well. You'll see him, take the hits if they give it to him. And after looking at that first game, I know they probably loading up on some hitch routes already and some hitch and goals against Southern. So I think it's going to be a good game. I'm actually going home to go to that game. So hopefully it is good. I had a chance a few years ago. I actually turned down a chance to go work for Coach Rob at Alabama State. That was one of the places my wife said she wasn't coming. We'll see you when y'all come to Baton Rouge or Prairie. But, I wish him well. I wish Coach Graves well. But I think it's going to be a good game. And it might be a shootout depending on the weather because both teams' defensive lines are not very big. So it could be some runs. But then which team can use their run to set up their passing game? And then that doggone Body Bodie, man, that joke is a football playing Jesse. As far as I'm concerned, I like him. He might not be an NFL prospect, but he the kind of guy that can go to Canada and play 12 to 15 years because of what you can tell his understanding is very high, and he's very athletic. And guys like that play in Canada a long time.
That's good. That's good. That'd be a great opportunity for him, right? To play some Canadian football. So. With that said, I really think that this is going to be a really interesting game for both of these programs, right? Excited to see where they are, right? I think defensively for both of them is both of them feel like where they have a lot of questions, right? I think Alabama State, obviously you see quarterback-wise, they're comfortable. I think they're also comfortable with their running back room. They're comfortable with their O-line, comfortable now with their receiver group. I think they feel like they have some answers on that side of the ball. But now it looks like, man, those couple years that they built up on the defense, man, they've lost a few pieces. Yeah. And like I said before, right, it's hard. Listen, when you lose somebody who got a shot at going to NFL, I don't care what you're talking about, right? You know what I'm saying? A guy who getting undrafted free agent invites, those don't grow on trees, right? You know what I'm saying? You can have good college football players who are not undrafted free agent football players, right? Or not NFL camp invitee football players, right? Still two different levels. And so Alabama State has lost a couple of those over the last few years. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not as easy to just replace them. And so it's going to be interesting to see kind of what they do this week. Again, with Southern's run game where they have multiple guys that they can use, not just running backs, but obviously quarterbacks as well. And obviously most likely McCoy is going to get that start. So that they're going to be definitely using that RPO run game, et cetera. So it's going to be interesting what Alabama State does there. Southern on the other end too as well. On defense, they've had a lot of opportunities, and especially in the secondary, especially against Mississippi Valley, that didn't take advantage of. Body is probably not going to give you as many shots as you got this week, right? And so now, how do you get them off the field so that you can give yourself a chance to stay in the game and have a chance to win? Last year was able to do that. Can you kind of put yourself in position to do it again? I definitely think if I had to, make a choice decision, I think I'll be roll with Alabama State this week. Somewhere maybe around 10 points, right? Maybe 14. I just think offensively is maybe a little bit too much for Southern to overcome. You know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, you got to play the game, and so it's going to be interesting for Coach Graves and those guys to see what they do and how they get it working. But with that said, man, any last words y'all got before we get up out of here? Any other games that you guys are excited about seeing this upcoming weekend too as well?
To be honest with you, I hadn't even looked at it once I made up my mind that I was going to go to Southern versus Alabama State. I didn't even check to see who else was playing.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
I think this week you got a kind of a lot of, I guess I won't call a lot of mismatches, but you got more FCS games this week, and then games against. I guess our game against UTRV is the only other FCS games, but again, that's a completely new program, right? So that don't excite people either. So Alabama State Southern is probably the one that's the most exciting on the list of all the ones that's there. So with that said, man, we appreciate you guys for jumping on again. I want to remind you that we got multiple shows coming on throughout the week. All right, we got the PV Nation podcast that's going to be Wednesday night, so make sure you check in with the crew. Did a great job of breaking down the games last week. They're going to be recapping and also breaking down the upcoming games. Then on Tuesday, of course, we got the live show. We got have our special guests. I know y'all love the Twins, right? You know what I'm saying? So we always open for PV Nation. And again, if you guys want to call in on Tuesday, then definitely you can do that, right? We go have the call in lines open if you guys want to call in, give your thought process. And listen, I think my boy Carlos is going to come on too on Tuesday because he owe us a Prairie View hat on his head. You know what I'm saying? Because of this dub that we was able to just get. So I can't. Yeah, it's a non-conference game. Bama State and Southern's a non-conference game. You know what I mean? Said the Twins talk and we love them. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And yes, listen, hit the like button again if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Listen, man, go and show some love, right? We're literally almost to 1,000 subscribers. And so we're literally trying to get over that hump. So if you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man, that will help us toward that goal. And hey, you guys are here, and we got a comfortable room this week because everybody was hoping and wishing on our downfall. Okay, that's the reality. Listen, Texas Southern had so many fans on yesterday. All right, so many fans. I mean, somebody sent me a clip of a video of somebody at the end of the game, like, Coach, listen, the end of the game, he was there.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh, we got two stuff. We were scoring the touchdown, like, oh, the touchdown. Oh, there's a flag. Yes, there's a flag. Yes, there's a flag. Yes, there's a flag. 2 seconds left. And then when we scored the touchdown, it's like, they scored a touchdown. Now we got to hear Prairie View talking about how good they are the rest of the year. We got to hear Prairie View talking about how they going to win the SWAC championship and go to Atlanta. And guess what, Coach? They right, because that's all they going to keep hearing. Talking about
Hey, can I say something too while we talking about that? Look, I need to let people know I do not work for Prairie View A&M University, the athletic department, the staff, or record label. So, it's funny that people were coming up to me assuming that some kind of way I work for Prairie View because of you, because of the work that I do with Mike Prince, stuff like that. So I don't look, man. I do this for fun. I like talking about football, and I like having fun talking about football. So the only thing that it might make this a little bit better if I had me a drink every now and then while I was talking about this, but I don't work for Prairie View, but I enjoy. Look, man, I pull for all HBCUs.
Yeah.
And one day I'm gonna give a ranking of who do I pull for in what order, because it's gonna surprise some people. But it's just, man, it's just fun for me. So they people walking up to me from Texas Southern and Prairie View talking about the show, and then everybody wanted to know what practice did I get kicked out of.
Hey, listen,
you did get kicked out. That's pretty funny.
That's fun. But if people really knew, it'll surprise some people. But it's funny to me, man.
That's hilarious, by the way. First of all, well, hey, at least we know we got people that love and just watch the show. Okay, I guess that's the good thing, right? You know what I'm saying? They ask the coach Northern questions like, "Hey, man, you got to talk to the ADs of these programs. I ain't got nothing to do with either one of them, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, if they want to pay me some money to answer this question for you specifically, I can send them my Zelle now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But until then, you gotta go ask one of them, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's so funny. But hey, we appreciate y'all for checking out the show, for watching the show. If you're one of those people who watch the show and coming up to Coach Northern and you're not subscribed to the channel, though, Coach Northern not even gonna respond to you no more, okay? Because you ain't even subscribed to the channel. Like, you ain't even subscribed to the channel. Why you even asking me any question in the first place? Okay, you being disrespectful now, okay, in the first place. So with that said, man, we appreciate all y'all for jumping on. He said that's what's up with the drink. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a little disappointing though, Lionel.
Say it again.
The football team messed you up. You would have had about 300 more viewers tonight from Jackson State if they hadn't won.
Oh, I don't need the viewers. I need the win. Listen, I don't need the viewers. I need the win. I don't care about the viewers. I care about
the blocked your show tonight.
Listen. I'm going. They first of all, the fact that y'all try. Hey, listen. No disrespect to Truth Seeker. No disrespect to Carlos. No disrespect to my man Nick, who be in the chat sometime. No disrespect to all my Texas Southern people. But the fact that y'all put y'all faith in Texas Southern to try to make me go away already shows that y'all ain't got no hope for this year. Okay, that lets me know that y'all have no hope for this year because y'all put y'all faith in Texas Southern University to try to get rid of me. And y'all didn't. I'm here. And guess what? You got to wait to Grambling game to even say anything to me. First of all, right? Because we can go.
I got to hear it a long time.
It wouldn't matter because guess what? We want to know on the SWAC. Okay, we want to know, and we're gonna win the SWAC West, the SWAC championship. We're gonna go to Atlanta. We're gonna start up I-10 and then go I-20 because that's the quickest way. That's what Coach say, right? That's the quickest way.
Right.
And we're gonna win Celebration Bowl. Okay, but that's what we're gonna do. So listen, just. You get comfortable. Just sit down and get comfortable because we gonna be here a while. All right. And with that said, we gonna holler at y'all. All right.
All right. Shout out to Mr.